Hi there. Just before we get started, as you can see by the title of the episode, we are going to be discussing TV finales this week. Now, pretty much all the ones we're going to discuss are a number of years old, or the finale aired some years ago. And we don't actually go too in depth into any of them, so not overly spoilery. But just as a heads up, the ones we do discuss a little bit around some of the details are Game of Thrones, Dexter, Walking Dead, White Collar, Quantum Leap, Two and a Half Men, Scrubs, Breaking Bad, Blackadder Goes Forth, Better Call Saul, The Sopranos, The Office, both UK and US, Lost, and How I Met Your Mother. Enjoy the show.
Oi, oi.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Casting Views, the general topic podcast that takes a topic each week and, as the name suggests, cast views. This week I've got my friend with me again, Pete. Hi, Pete.
Hello.
Pete, aka Whiskey Boy in my house.
That better not stick.
We'll make that stick. Yes, how are you doing, Pete?
Yeah, very good. A little bit hot, but it's all right. It's all right. Better than being in the freezing cold or it raining. So I'll take it.
I'm going to caveat this and say, so at time of recording, this episode will go out in about 3 or 4 weeks' time. So just in case we're in the middle of like a cold spell then. But yeah, we're recording this. It's probably been the hottest week so far. So we're getting, 30 degrees here?
Around that, yeah.
Yeah, but otherwise you're doing well, yeah?
Yeah, very good, yeah.
You're back because you actually suggested this topic, didn't you? I've got a couple of friends of mine who are upset because when I told them the subject, they said that they wanted to do it. And I said, well, I can't. I promised it to Pete. So,
Yeah, well, they should have suggested it first then, shouldn't they?
so before we get into what it is, let's just hear from some friends of the show.
Let's see. No. I'm not ready to watch that yet. You know what? I'll just watch this again. Do you ever find yourself doom scrolling your streamer looking for something to watch, but just end up rewatching the same shows over and over again? Hi, I'm Dustin, and welcome to the Rewatch Recap, a show where guests and I rewatch every episode in a TV season or a classic TV movie to see if it holds up, and making fun of the parts that don't. So come on, rewatchers, let's revisit these shows together every Monday on the Rewatch Recap, wherever podcasts are played.
Right, we're back. So I kind of worried you a little bit before recording because I think I told you I've changed the remit of this episode as you joined on, but I haven't really. You suggested that you wanted to talk about the best and worst TV finales, didn't you?
Yep.
So I thought, let's talk about finales in general as well. So I think the first question from me to you is, what makes a good finale?
A good finale will wrap up as much of the story and answer as many of the questions that they've given you as they possibly can. I'm not a fan of this. Let's leave them guessing. Let's leave a few questions unanswered, or let's go full circle and let's not tell them anything. Let's just let them guess what ends or what happens to these characters that you've invested years of your time watching.
We might fall out over one of mine then, but okay. So does it have to be though? Does it have to be like a happy ending, or
No.
or it doesn't have to necessarily be an upbeat ending as long as you get resolution?
Yeah, you put in a lot of hours watching these TV series, and we all know that even the best TV series, which we'll get into, have slow episodes, sometimes even seasons. So you're investing a lot of your time into these shows, and they're giving you a lot of questions. For them to not answer these questions or leave you guessing at the end, it's just so unfulfilling. It's just so unsatisfying. Wrap it up for me. I've invested. Give me the payoff.
My wife's exactly the same. She hates there being either ambiguous ending, or she hates no, I don't want to make my mind up. You're the program. You show me what happens to that character. She doesn't like I'm going to leave it up to you for you to make your own ending up. I get that. I think for me, I actually don't mind sometimes a little ambiguity if it fits in with the program, and I'll explain that when I come on to one of the examples. I asked the same question to my wife. I said to her, what does she see as a good ending? For her, she does need an upbeat ending. I think that for the same thing as you, because you if you've watched the whole series, like some of them, like one of them on my list, Modern Family, I think that's 11 seasons. So that's 11 years, right? And
Yeah.
if you're watching it real time, that's 11 of your years as well, right? So you've grown up almost with these people. 10 years is a big chunk of time of anyone's life, right?
Yeah.
And so I think she wants to leave it on a good note. Also, she wants to know that each character has gone off to do something good as well. And again, we'll come on to that. And I think what we'll probably do is nothing on my list is relatively new, but I might just go back and re-record a little spoiler list for the start of the episode, just in
Yeah.
case anyone is upset from something that finished airing in 1985 or something.
Yeah. Smart.
Okay, tell you what do you want to start? What's the best? Do you want to start with good or bad?
Why don't we start with good?
Okay, so let's start with bad. So, no, okay, go on.
No, go bad now. Go bad now. No.
Do you know what? I've only got a few on my list anyway. I tell you what, I always say guess first. So why don't I throw over to you for your first one?
Okay, well, let's just get rid of the elephant in the room right away. Yeah, everyone knows it's coming. Everyone is at the top of everyone's list of worst endings ever. Yeah, Game of Thrones, right?
I was waiting for that. Pete, just as a little bit of a fill in here. So Pete and I used to be colleagues for about 5 years, didn't we? Work
Yeah.
together. And you and I both absolutely loved this show, didn't we?
Yep.
And yeah, I think it was safe to say the final season didn't really match up the excitement we would have following the previous seasons, right?
No, they butchered it.
So go on, tell us why you didn't like it.
Oh, I just absolutely butchered it, didn't they? Like, I understand, like, big characters that we've seen dying off. I get that. I was prepared for that. I'm fine with that. But Daenerys had worked since the first season trying to get the throne, right? And she's finally in a position where she's going to get the throne. And she's this shining knight that's just, come over to claim her throne. And then she just has an arc turn and she just turns absolutely psychotic. And I get it because her father was the Mad King, right? And that's what they're probably trying to do. They're probably trying to say that it was always coming. We'd seen little glimpses here and there. But for me, it just went too far. It just killed it.
For me, Game of Thrones is not just a bad finale, it's a bad final season.
Yeah, I agree with that completely, yeah.
From the infamous episode where you couldn't see any of the battle because it was so dark, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Which is not just, it doesn't just affect Game of Thrones, right? To be fair, it seems to be creeping into a lot of programs. Maybe we don't want to spend too much on the effects, so do this fight in the dark.
Yeah.
But it's just, characters seem to be teleporting, and I can almost forgive that because it's a final season. You don't want things to be trudging around. But how many seasons was it now? Was it 7, 6 or 7?
8 or 9, wasn't it?
Was it?
Maybe 8, maybe 8.
Do you know what? I've never gone back to it. But I think for me, what it is, was the seasons leading up to it were just so good.
They were so epic.
So good.
Yeah.
That maybe it just couldn't live up to that. And I keep saying to people, if you haven't watched it, I would just leave it at that cliffhanger of that penultimate season, because that to me is almost like the perfect ending. Because that was when the wall was coming down, wasn't it?
It was.
The ice dragons flying over.
Yeah.
It was so rushed, and even that scene with oh god, I've forgotten what was This is awful. I'm having a brain freeze. The bad woman.
Cersei.
That's it. Yeah, but she was running down the stairs past, was it the mountain and and how when they were fighting, and it just felt so weird, that scene, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
She's like, don't mind me.
Yeah. I'll tell you that the biggest thing that annoyed me in the Game of Thrones finale might have been the last 2 episodes. I've not watched, like you, I've not gone back to it for obvious reasons. Jaime Lannister, right? He starts off this cocky, villainous character, does what he does to Ned. Everyone hates him. Then he goes on this really, really in-depth character arc where he turns into a really good character, really solid. He's a good character. You want him to win. You want him to do great. And then in a matter of, I don't know, half an hour of showtime, it just flips the script and he just turns completely opposite again. He just goes back to his old ways, he tries to get back to Cersei. I'm just like, why has he spent all this time developing and they've just been, oh no, let's flip it back. It was just the stupidest rushed thing, which really pissed me off in the finale. So why would you do that?
I've forgotten all about that because he was probably the most interesting character, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And then, like you said, just as you thought he was, as much as in that program you could get a good person, he was a good
Yeah.
person. And it was like, yeah, no, I love my sister again, and I'm going to go, which it feels a really weird
Yeah.
sentence to be
Like,
saying.
I'm going to abandon you all now.
Yeah, and that's it. It's like, yeah, screw everything else.
Yeah.
You know, I would still recommend watching the show. It's just, I don't know if it just buckled under itself, or maybe they just wanted to finish it, because the last 2 or 3 seasons were not within the books, were they? Because he's
That's
still
right,
writing
yeah.
the books, isn't it?
And it shows, doesn't it?
Yeah. Oh, it definitely did change, but that last season was just extra special, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely gutting for a show to be that good
Yeah.
all the way through.
Yeah. And is there a little bit also, as a fan, was there a little bit of, what's the word, awkwardness, because you're going on and on to friends about how great this series is? Then they probably just started watching it, and then you're like, do you know what? I hate that show.
Yeah, this is rubbish. I only recommended seasons 1 to 7.
I had that, and knowing you, like I said, because we were talking, we'd always talk about it. I just know how deep that hurt was for you.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was so iconic, wasn't it? It was, everyone was talking about it. You know, they brought out 9 whiskey bottles. I've still got them, in my cupboard. But they released like.
I thought you were trying to get away from the nickname. They're actually good investments, though, weren't they?
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
What was it, Johnny Walker? Was it?
That was one of them, but no, they had loads like Glenellish, Lagavulin. They had a load of different distilleries.
So you drank those while you were watching that to forget the finale?
No, I'm sitting on them to get ready. Hopefully, in 30 years' time, it will repair the damage it did.
And I can't remember, did that come out yearly, or was that sometimes a bit longer? I
think it was sometimes a bit longer, yeah.
I think that's what made it even worse, isn't it? Because you're waiting. But yeah, I agree with you, and I'm sure a lot of people out there agree. But if you're a Game of Thrones finale defender, you can contact Pete at... Okay, I've got one. Did you ever watch Dexter?
Oh, I haven't. It's on my list. Maybe not after this
Okay,
conversation.
well, maybe you want to take it off the list. No, do you know what? The thing is, I'm terrible. Some of these, I don't remember what actually happened. I just remember not liking them. For me, Dexter was the same as Game of Thrones, personally. So I think I got into it late. So I'd been binge watched 2 or 3 seasons. So I've really got hooked into it. In our house, when we get hooked on a program, I tend to want to watch just maybe 2 or 3 episodes at most, but my wife can pretty much watch it all in one go, the whole day. So kind of we really got hooked into it. And I just think, for me, Dexter, the final season, but especially the final episode, it was just dreadful. It was. I'm actually going to say I think it was worse than Game of Thrones.
No.
Yeah. Still watch it. What I haven't done, though, I think it was so bad that they did then do a new series last year, didn't they? They'd done a spin-off, or where
really?
they followed it up. So
Why was
I'm
it
not
so
going to say
bad?
anything. I think it's just the same thing, that the storyline leading up to it. So you know the rough outline of what the story's about, right?
Yeah.
It was so well done, so well written, so well acted. There was quite a lot of tense scenes in it. And then the final episode was just this random mishmash of bizarre actions by characters, and just distract. I don't want to say it anymore, because I want you to see it. But it feels like they really diminished, for me, the main character.
So why do you think that was? Were they rushed for time? Were they trying to rush it all, fit it all into the final episode, or?
Yeah, because I want to kind of. This is what I'm saying about doing a general chat after. I often think sometimes, because look, right, some shows don't even get a finale. They just get cancelled.
Yes.
Some know they're going to get cancelled short term, so I think they hurry a finale in. And then some seasons, I do wonder with some shows if they just get bored of it and say, right, we want to finish it.
Oh, I think that definitely happens.
Yeah,
I definitely
and I don't know. I could be doing them a disservice. I'm wondering if it's a bit of that. It just feels like, again, they just didn't wrap it up, or the writers have got this great idea in their head that just doesn't map out on paper.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I'm going to be honest. The bad endings, I don't tend to remember much about it. I think it's because I don't ever want to then go back to the program.
Yeah, to put a wall up, blank it out of your mind. That was shit. I'm not thinking about that again.
Yeah, The good ones I do. So yeah, okay, that was a quick one, Dexter. But I would still recommend watching it because the show itself is good, and I do want to watch the spin off because I kind of want to see what happens in that.
Yeah.
What else you got?
I've got one which might be a little bit controversial because the finale was actually all right, but I'll tell you my reasons for it. But The Walking Dead.
Okay, okay.
So obviously, I think most people can agree that it was too long. The Walking Dead. That they longed it out for probably about 3 seasons more than they should have done. Right. So everyone was kind of fatigued at that point. Now we're saying series finales, right? So we're looking at a series for what it is, right? So I'm talking about The Walking Dead. I'm not talking about spin-offs. I'm not talking
Yeah,
about
yeah.
6-part series that are just one-offs for the fans, right? If you're looking at The Walking Dead as just The Walking Dead, when Rick leaves the show, obviously that's a massive hole to fill, and it never gets filled. Daryl was a cool character, but he can't, and because he was already in the show before, it's not like he can just start being Rick's character. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, after the credits roll, you see that scene. Have you seen the finale?
No, do you know what? I stopped watching it after a few series.
Did you see the part where Rick left the show?
No, I mean I've read the comics, so I don't know if they. I don't think they've done the same as that.
Yeah, no,
But
it's probably different. But the way he left the show is quite cool, quite interesting. Basically, the viewer knows that he's still out there. Michonne goes after him, that kind of thing. But
Mhm.
yeah, after the credits roll in the final episode of Walking Dead, you see Rick, and you see him for about 2 minutes, and I think if I remember correctly, he's getting chased down by a chopper. I think he gets caught, and it's just one of those scenes where why leave that open? Obviously, they're trying to create attention and hype for the spin-off that they're doing. I think there's about 3 spin-offs they're doing from The Walking Dead, which is fine. But if you're taking it for a series, absolutely shit. There's no resolution there. You have no idea what's going on with Rick. You have no idea what's going on with Michonne. And it just didn't feel like it was done in a particularly good way.
Yes, so you're saying that the ending wasn't so much an ending, but it was just right. We realise we've dragged The Walking Dead
Yeah.
out. We want to set a spin-off off, so let's just do something at the end to try keep the interest going and say,
Let's
all
show
right, it's
Rick
a
to get
different
some
show.
hype and build
Yeah,
hype for the next show. Yeah, it just felt cheap. It just didn't feel. It didn't feel good.
yeah, because you can't, like you said, you might not be interested in going on to that spin-off, right? So you want your own conclusion.
Well, it's just
It probably
it
could
should
have
be the end of a
started like
story.
that. Yeah,
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 yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. He's the spin-off got to start. I mean, everyone knew the spin-off's going to happen. It's
yeah.
not like it was some massive secret. Everyone knew that it was going to happen, so they could have started the series with that. But as well as that, like our other main characters decided to go off. Like Daryl went off, which is fine. He's he's always been a bit of a loner, hasn't he? But then like Maggie and Negan are kind of like off, and it's just like after everything, you've all just buggered off.
Tired like the viewers.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that did go on too long. I really enjoyed watching it, the first few series, but it just I don't know. I'm one of the people though that I was watching it because I just wanted to see the zombies, and there was too much about the people, so I got a little bit bored in one of the
Yeah.
seasons. But what it did do was put me onto the comics, and I ended up reading the comics and enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Stop the show. So are you watching the spin-offs then?
Well, I want to, but the spin-off that starts next week, so the 18th of June, I think it starts, hasn't had an agreement put in place for the UK. So everyone assumed it'd be Disney Plus because they've got the rights to The Walking Dead, but they haven't come to an agreement with AMC.
Oh,
So
really?
it's not airing in the UK.
What's happened to another one? I'm sure there was another show like that. Well, I think there was a Star Wars, not Star Wars. God, people are going to hate me for that. There was a Star Trek um, series that didn't show for about 6 months here because it was waiting for that Paramount Plus channel to launch, I think.
Oh,
And so
okay,
everyone
yeah.
in the States were getting it, whereas we then had to wait sort of like 6 months over it. I think that is a real problem with streaming, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, big time. Yeah. Yeah, they have to have these kinds of deals. And I was actually really hyped to watch that as well.
So do you tend to watch spin-offs though of shows, or do you kind of you're one and done? You know, once a series is played out.
Well, I definitely watch spin-offs. There's 2 of them in my in my best, so we'll get round to that.
Well, then slight spoiler. There was Game of Thrones on there. Have you been watching?
Oh, House of the Dragon. Yeah, I've
You
been
see,
watching House of the Dragon.
I got too burnt by Game of Thrones, so I haven't watched that.
No, I've gone in with incredibly low expectations, and it's actually quite entertaining.
Okay, all right. So Walking Dead. for you.
Yep.
I've got one more. I've got two on my list because a wife threw one at me. So let's do that one first. So Honorary mentioned there was I don't know if you ever saw it, it's a show called White Collar.
No, I haven't seen
So
that.
it was about a criminal, and I can't remember if he was a policeman or like an insurance investigator, but they were working together to catch criminals. It's a classic setup. The reason why she hated that was because I thought the ending was fine, but there was one of the main characters, the criminal guy. He then, I think he runs off. It's based in America. I think he runs off to France, leaves his friend behind. The friend thinks he's dead. He doesn't tell him, and so he's distraught that this guy's dead while he's then living it up in France. And she hated that, and that's it. So she was furious at that because of that. So like I said, she's one definitely in the camp that everyone has to be happy at the end of the show,
Okay.
and that really pissed her off. But for me, my final one is: did you ever watch the original series of Quantum Leap?
No, I didn't.
So I loved Quantum Leap. So I don't know if you know what it is, but it's like it was based in the future. But then this guy would jump into people's bodies throughout history and help them avoid some disaster or something bad that would befall them. He had to change. There was something bad that was going to happen to them, and he had to change that outcome for them. And then when he did, he would jump into the next person. Now it might be in 1960s, it might be 1985, it could be anything. And because of that, they did some quite interesting and hard-hitting episodes, based on things that happened in history. I think this was when I looked it up again. So I think it's one of those shows. It was cancelled in its third season. Then the fans, I read actually, the fans raised like 30 grand to give one of the guys his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and they done so many petitions that the TV company bought it back for 2 more years.
Wow.
But I think, if I remember rightly, they decided, no, this is the season where we're going to end it. And I think they had to hurry the ending for it. And again, this was a difficult one. I didn't know whether to put in good or bad. And then I had more in good, so I decided to put it in bad. But the reason why I put it in bad is, so like I said, he goes jumping. Anyway, he jumps into this mining town. And there's this bartender, being all philosophical with him. And he's seen people he's jumped into in the past, but with different names. And I think some of them are these jumpers. And it turns out that the thing was, he was always trying to get home. He didn't want to be doing this. He was then trying to get home. And it turns out, the barman says, oh, it's always been in your control. Kind of, you don't want to go home. It's you doing it. And then the main character sort of thinks that the barman is God. And we don't find out if he is God or not. But then all you see, it's quite a sad, well, it's quite a happy set, one of those bittersweet ones, because he goes back and fixes something for his friend. But then the ending, it just comes up with writing on the screen saying, something. Sam Beckett never returned home, or he's continued jumping, or something like that. And it's just, I felt cheated. That is the one time where I kind of broke my own rule, because I did feel cheated, because he was doing so much good for so many people.
Yeah.
And then he doesn't get that good ending. And also, just to see a bit of text come up on the screen to say that, do you know what I mean?
It's
It just felt
outrageous, isn't it?
Yeah, it just felt a bit cheated. And like I said, I think maybe it's because I invested, I invested so much in that character. You do get caught up. It was Scott Bakula, and he played that character really well. And you think, guy, he's doing, you get soppy. He's doing all these good things for everyone else, and he didn't get to go home, So,
yeah.
So I stuck it in the bad because it made me upset. So
no, I get that, especially the writing on the screen as well. Like that just screams. Oh, we couldn't squeeze a spit in. We couldn't squeeze in another couple of scenes of him jumping. So yeah, we'll just write it up.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking, how could you do it? But I guess you could maybe go sort of 30 years later, where some of his friends or his family are old, and they're looking at a picture of him. Do you know what I mean? You could do it like that. Maybe you transition to somebody who did know him, and they're on their deathbed, and it's clearly like 30 years later, and say, oh, I wish he made it back, or something like that. There you go. I did a better ending. Hollywood, sign me up. I only had to think about it for like 30 years, but right, I've got no more bad, so over to you.
So I've got a couple more bad. 2.5 Men.
Do you know what? I've never seen the ending, but I've seen that on lists of the worst finales. Yeah.
Yeah. So Charlie Sheen obviously has that massive blowout with Chuck Lorre, the producer of the show. A massive falling out. Charlie Sheen's off the show for good. And they bring in Ashton Kutcher, and he kind of buys Charlie's house, all this kind of thing. And the show continues. I personally think they should just left it at that. Just when Charlie wasn't back in the show, leave it at that. He's been in too many seasons for it to continue. But Ashton Kutcher did all right, and it was a different kind of role, and it was still enjoyable to watch. Now, the finale of this show, the last scene starts with a character walking up to the front of the beach house, which we know is the house in Malibu, Charlie's house. And he's got one of Charlie's shirts on, Charlie's shorts, and he's got the same kind of hairstyle as Charlie Sheen. He knocks on the door, and then it cuts to a helicopter carrying a piano, which then lands on Charlie Sheen. The camera starts going back to a producer chair where Chuck Lorre's sitting, and he says the words "winning," and it was just a big, huge Charlie Sheen for Chuck Lorre. That was it. Yeah. Absolutely shocking ending. Didn't need to see it. Just pointless. Just bringing his own personal feud out onto the screen for the last episode. Shocking.
Yeah, I think I remember hearing about that now. And yeah, I agree with you. I think in isolation, it's quite funny, but maybe have it as like a deleted scene or an alternate ending on a DVD or something. But yeah, it does feel like two fingers up to the audience as well a little bit.
It does, yeah, because you've obviously watched this character for seasons and seasons, and he dies, and like the reason why he's no longer in the show is because he has died, like in the show. So it didn't make any sense either.
Yeah, it kind of takes you out of it because it's a sitcom, and then you've got the creator's personal grudge comes through.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, I kind of get why he'd be pissed off.
Yeah, don't air it on your TV show.
Yeah, can you imagine if all shows did that?
Yeah, that'd be a disaster. One other comedy I've got is Scrubs. Don't know if you're a fan of Scrubs.
You got that in the bad ending?
Well, yeah, considering the season before last, Zach Braff and Elliot were going off into the sunset. I think they were getting married, and it was all perfectly ended. And then they bring a season back with a new cast. Like, what are you doing?
Well, this is it. Actually, I reached out to a couple of podcast friends of mine, and one of them actually, he's put it. So this is Josh from Talking Smack. He's put Scrubs in his best one because what he says is, he said, Scrubs season 8 is a great sitcom finale as it does the sitcom thing of separating the cast to offer a conclusion that shows growth. JD's off to the new hospital to be closer to Sam, and Elliot is going with him. Turk's got a promotion and has a second kid with Carla, etc., etc. And then you've got the ending montage that shows us JD's hopes and dreams to Peter Gabriel's A Book of Love is just beautiful. It offers closure without being definitive. Now, what he said is season 9 isn't real to him. It's a spin-off series.
There you go.
No, but I think I did read this. It was meant to be a spin-off series that ABC mandated be called Scrubs because they didn't think people would tune in for the spin-off.
Really?
Yeah, so I remember going back to it because I'd never really seen the last series. So sort of last year, I think I had a free subscription to. It's on Paramount here, isn't it?
It's on Disney.
Oh, sorry, Disney. That's right. So I watched it all, and yeah, that last season just feels like it is supposed to be like a medical school set in that hospital, isn't it? And I think they've brought the characters back. So I kind of see why you put it on your worst, and I see why he's put it on the best. Because yeah, if you take it that it probably shouldn't have been season 9, it should have been a spin-off. But it definitely does sour the taste because Scrubs was great, right?
Oh, Scrubs was brilliant. Yeah, it mixed joking humor with serious undertones, and there are moments in that show where it hits hard, and you're like, "Wow, this is what show to be able to do this and make you laugh!" Like a few minutes later or before that.
And if I remember right, the last scene of that season 8, yeah, he's walking down the corridor, and isn't it all the almost all the cast? It feels like from the previous seasons are there. Except Gift Shop Girl, I think they couldn't get her. She was contracted to another show. Do you remember Gift Shop Girl?
Yeah, I do remember Gift Shop Girl.
If you listen, have you ever listened to the podcast? Zach Braff and Donald Faison on there?
No, I haven't. No.
Oh, dude, listen to that. It's hilarious. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
But I think they talk about it, and yeah, they really wanted her there, but I don't know if she was in Chuck at the time. I don't know if you ever seen that, but yeah, TV studio wouldn't release her for that.
Ah, shame.
So yeah, so Josh from Talking Smack disagrees with you. So there you go.
Well, he agrees with me, but he's using the technicality. But if I go to Disney and watch Scrubs, is it in the Scrubs list?
That's the Pete Josh, not me. Okay. Okay, so that was your bad list, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Give us one from your good list.
Well, this is probably the most obvious one, but I'm going to say it because I've watched it 3 times now, and it's probably my favorite ever series, Breaking Bad.
Oh, I forgot to put that on here, but yes, yeah.
Breaking Bad. What a series for TV.
That was one, to be honest, I watched it late.
I
I
did.
haven't rewatched it yet, but
Oh, you should.
that was one where I broke my own rule where I binged that, and I binged that hard.
Yeah.
That was an awesome show.
Absolutely phenomenal. The intricate little details that they leave in some episodes, and it comes back full circle like 6 or 7 episodes later, is genius. It's so good.
Talk to me though about the ending, because I know a lot of people, or that divided, I think, the audience from what I remember at the time. A lot of people weren't happy with it.
Well, I think it ended absolutely perfectly, to be honest with you. You know, Walter was he was a man that was so kind of obsessed with his own persona at the end of it. You know, it completely overcome him. He was Heisenberg. He was the most powerful man in the universe in his eyes. He was the smartest man in the universe in his eyes, and he got away with it. He gets relocated, and then the cancer comes back, and you can see him getting medication, and you can see that he's just going through the motions. He's existing, and there are too many open ends for him, which is why he has to go back. Now, what I love about it is that he spoke with Skylar, and he saw his daughter, and then after all the shit that he's put Jesse through, and all the stuff that Jesse has done for him, which has traumatized Jesse, he goes back and he gets him out, and he kills the guys who killed Hank. Because the thing is, right, when he was Heisenberg and doing his dealings and getting people killed in jail cells, it was never personal. But Hank was always on that line, that family line. You know, you can't cross over that line. Even when they had that bust up in the garage, he still didn't do anything to Hank because he's family, right? And that means everything. And then when that gang took Hank out, it changed the game. You know, he had to get his revenge, and he's Heisenberg. He's going to get his revenge. Of course he can. And the way he goes out at the end, perfect. He should not have survived that story because of the person he was, because of the choices he made, because of the shit he put everyone through, and because I don't know, I felt like it didn't need a happy ending. What kind of lifestyle would it have been? He would have gone to jail, you know, for life.
I don't think it needed. I think the ending just was about the redemption in terms of saving Jesse, wasn't it?
Yeah, and saying goodbye.
Yeah, because again, that's what I was saying. So for me, a series doesn't have to have an happy ending. It just has to fit in with the rest of the series.
Yeah,
and that absolutely does, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's the perfect ending.
Yeah, and like I said, what a show! I do need to do another rewatch of that. So, did you ever see the? I mean, I'm gonna not call it a technicality because you're right, because it had a different name. But did you ever see the one-off program they did afterwards, El Camino?
The movie El Camino. Yeah, I watched that. Yeah,
I didn't really enjoy that. I didn't think it was needed.
I didn't think it was needed either. Really, I mean, I guess what it did was it tied up Jesse's story more so than the Breaking Bad finale. Because Breaking Bad finale, he's screaming in the car driving, isn't he? So you never know what happens to Jesse, which in my opinion was fine. I didn't need to know what happened to Jesse. He got out, and
Exactly.
we know that he probably would have been all right. So I was fine with that. But you know, to tie it up into a nice little bow, him getting some cash and actually escaping, and they found his car, didn't they? Which Skinny Pete drove to the border,
Yeah.
so he was completely in the clear. But yeah, I don't feel like they needed that.
I'm going to say that it's, for me, he escaped and that's it. So that's, in my head, he's escaped and he's not going to be found.
Maybe, yeah, maybe. I mean, realistically, that movie showed us the trauma he went through with Todd guy. How much of, you know, how controlled he was by Todd, to the point where he gave him the gun in the desert when he could have shot him easily. But I
It
mean, we
actually
kind of
made you feel
know that.
more sad. It actually made you
Yeah,
feel depressed. You could have
yeah,
just watched.
yeah.
Yeah,
Because we knew he was traumatized from the way he was, the way he
yeah,
looked, and how abused he'd
yeah,
been.
yeah.
So yeah, yeah, I do agree with you. We
So
didn't know
there you go.
anything when
If
he
you
was that.
haven't watched it, watch Breaking Bad. Don't watch El Camino.
Basically, yeah, I think that, yeah.
I mean, actually, before I move on, I just saw this week again. Did you ever see that video of Bryan Cranston walking around a Comic Con with a Heisenberg mask on?
Yes, I have seen that. Yeah,
Yeah, people taking pictures of him because he's dressed up as Heisenberg. Then when he sits down on the panel, he takes it off, and
yeah,
it's him under it. It's brilliant. I love
yeah.
that.
That is brilliant. That is great.
Okay, for my first one, I'm actually going to go for a British show. I've got Blackadder Goes Forth.
Okay. Yep.
You watched that?
I haven't, no, but I know it's good.
Oh, you haven't watched it? Oh, seriously. So, for anyone who hasn't watched it, it's there were, as per the name, there were 4 series, and they're all set in different time zones, for want of a better term. But he was always, I think, a descendant of the Blackadder family of some sort. So Blackadder Goes Forth was set in, I think it was World War One, and if I remember right, yeah, it's all as much as you can. I think it's very British thing of doing comedy out of quite a tragic and monumental war in history. But the final episode, if I remember right, was about them, him and a couple of the other characters doing their best to try get out because they were going to have to go over the line and start getting drawn into battle. So they were trying to pretend they were crazy. They were trying to pretend they were injured, trying to get out of it. And it kind of hit home when you were talking about Scrubs. Its final scene is just one of the most almost like heart wrenching
I
scenes
have
that
seen this scene.
you've seen it,
I
yeah,
haven't
in a
watched Blackadder, but
comedy.
I have seen the scene you're about to describe. Go on.
Yeah, so they kind of they go up the ladder, they come out the trench, they're all on the line, and then they're charging forward. They get given the order, they're running forward, and then it kind of goes slow mo, doesn't it? You
Yeah,
see them charging forward with their guns, and you see like explosions going off, and then doesn't it then just transit? And you've got the somber music playing. Then I think it just transitions into the field of poppies, doesn't it?
yeah, it does. Yeah, yeah,
It's just amazing, and I'm
yeah,
thinking, you know, it was a great comedy its own right, but then it does something so poignant. Yeah, I think in terms of finale, it's up there because it was a good ending, but also yeah, just punches you right in the gut and just
yeah,
leaves its fist there. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
So
But
yeah,
it
it,
has to be good to do that, though, right? That just is a testament to how good the show was written.
yeah, and I can't remember when it was out, but it must have been years ago. And I just remember actually that 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 finale, that final scene stayed with me for a long time, man. I'm just gonna I'm gonna pass over to you before I start getting emotional. But no, but joking aside, watch if you haven't seen it, you can probably just catch that scene on YouTube. So yeah,
Yeah.
go check out Blackadder Goes Forth.
Okay, so looping back to your previous question about spin-offs, and it's probably going to be no surprise to you, my next good show is Better Call Saul.
Okay, do you know what? I've not watched that.
You haven't watched it? Oh my
No, I
god,
don't.
I've watched it twice. I literally just finished watching it a second time with my wife, and the finale is fantastic, but a little bit cheating. The last season is some of the best television I've ever watched.
Oh, really?
It's easily up there with Breaking Bad. The last season, easily up there with Breaking Bad, and the finale for me. Now I'm conscious of spoilers because you should watch this, and I don't want to
No, go
spoil it.
for it. Go for it.
The finale does very well at wrapping everything up, pretty much. But I wouldn't call it a happy ending.
Okay. Okay.
Which again I really liked because it's not sunshine and rainbows, especially in the drug in the drug world. With everything that
Right. Yeah.
Saul kind of like did, and yeah, no, it was absolutely fantastic. I highly recommend it.
Funny, isn't it? Because a funny character to have based a successful spin-off on. Because
Yes,
he comes into the show quite late, doesn't he?
season 2, I think he comes in.
Is it season 2? I thought it was later.
No, season 2. And he's a key player in Breaking Bad, isn't he? Without him, like he's the
It's
one
all right.
that.
You can say so because like I said, I'll put a spoiler thing at the start. So what happens? Does he get? No, he can't get off, can he? Because he's in Breaking Bad. But what's the bad stuff? What's the?
What do you mean the bad stuff?
Well, you said it's not a happy ending. So what is it? Is it just that? I'm guessing what's the not happy ending about it?
Well, it's not a happy ending in the traditional sense. That there's no like we go off
Oh,
together
okay.
and we have our lives, and we've got past this. It's an ending which it's the right ending for the series and for the character. And in Better Call Saul, they've done something which is like really unique. Where it's a prequel series, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I'll tell you that because it's not really a huge spoiler, and you would find out in the first few scenes of the first episode. It's a prequel to Breaking Bad, but they do flash forwards as well to the
Okay.
current and after the current. So in essence, it does kind of carry on a little bit of the Breaking Bad story.
Okay. Okay.
So it's a really good watch.
It's funny, isn't it, that two of our best ones are actually sad or not happy endings.
Yeah, yeah, but maybe that's because so many shows do go for the happy ending.
Yeah, and there is something in that which we'll probably come on to. So the majority of mine, I'm necessarily not going to go into them in depth, but I've got here one which really divided people, and I've put it on the good, and a lot of people are going to have it on the bad. Was I've got The Sopranos.
Okay,
Did you ever
I,
watch that?
no, I haven't, but I've seen a lot of people put that on bad, and a lot of people put that on good as well. Yeah.
Which is funny because again, I've got Kay from the Fuck My Work Life podcast. She's put that as her worst finale, and I get it. I I've had to think about this one a lot. So yes, so you know what it is. That final scene, the family are waiting in a diner. They're waiting. I think it's Tony, his wife, the kid. I think they're waiting for the daughter to come, and he's constantly looking around because there's so many dodgy looking people in this diner they're in. You hear the door of the diner go because I think if I remember right, I think he's like turning witness protection or he's like informed or something. Anyway, so he's clearly looking out for something dodgy to happen. And it just cuts to black, doesn't it? And I think a lot of
Yeah.
people thought their TV had cut out. Apparently, that was the bit because it does. They do it so well. I think you've got Journey, Don't Stop Believing playing in the background, and it just cuts to black just as you hear that bell of the door ring, and it's like, is he alive? Isn't he? Isn't he alive? And at first, I thought that's an awful ending because I hate that ambiguous. But then, just like you said, we don't need the proper Hollywood happy ending or everything. Sometimes we don't need everything explained because for me, it fits in. If I think he's a mobster, his whole life was dodgy, his whole life was paranoia and being on the lookout and ending people's lives quickly like that. To me, it almost fits in with his life
Yeah.
that it kind of shut like that. Now, I'm going to say that I think he was killed, and especially there's a scene because somebody goes off one of the quote air quote dodgy looking people goes off into the toilet, which is just like his favorite scene, but that classic scene in The Godfather where Michael goes into the toilet to get the gun
Yeah.
out. So I think he's clearly dead, but I didn't like it. But then I thought, well, no, if you imagine it, the ending fits his character, if you know what I mean. That is very dodgy, very shifty, and at the end that he dealt to a lot of people and would be dealt to him, I think would be quick. So that's kind of why I now think, do you know what? I actually think it's actually a good ending.
Yeah. Fair enough. That would definitely annoy me.
I think it would, but he's not necessarily a good person or a good character. So we
I'm fine with him
sometimes
dying though.
you what, sorry?
I'd be fine with him dying though if that was the
Just
case.
show it.
Just show that it's the finale, right? I want an ending. I don't want to be. I don't want to do the work.
Yeah, I
I,
know.
wa- I, want
I'm
I want to
breaking
sit there and be told.
I'm contradicting everything I've said, but that's why I think it works. But just for that program, I wouldn't like it in any other show. But I think for me, and I can't maybe articulate it properly, but I think it works in a show like The Sopranos for me. So Kay, come at me. Right? I think it's the best one.
It's funny because that is
Okay.
the direct opposite of Breaking Bad, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. Especially
Yeah.
when with El Camino, where they had to give you even more of an ending. That's like El Camino's like the DLC extension to the game, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
And
Yeah.
do you know what? I'm just looking at the time. I think we should just rattle them off. Tell you what, if you rattle your list off and we'll pick out anything.
Yep. I've only really got a few more, and it's because these are just very self-explanatory. So I've got the US version of The Office.
The UK version.
You had the UK version, did you?
Yeah, all right, let's do it quickly then. Just because in the UK, David Brent was always seen as that horrible, like
Weirdo.
embarrassing, yeah, this sexist figure. So, in the last two, like the Christmas episodes, you've got him standing up against Finchy, and I
Yeah.
think he tells Finchy to F off.
Yeah, he does. Yep. Yep.
He finds someone he loves. I think he
He
ends up
meets a
with
date. He
someone.
meets a date
Yeah, he
at the
meets a
party,
date.
Christmas party.
And
Yep.
then he tells a joke which gets everyone genuinely laughing, or he does an impression, which is the whole season or two seasons he spent everyone trying to get a bit of
Yeah.
validation. So to me,
Yep.
that's why
No, it's
I
great.
had that. Yeah.
It is great. Mine was
You
kind of
got
similar. The US version is similar, right? Michael Scott leaves, and there's like I think there's 2 or 3 seasons after that, which are brilliant. To be fair, like I felt like they shouldn't have cancelled it. They should have kept it going with Dwight and everyone else. And then at the end, there's Michael comes back, and you can see how much he's grown as a character and as a
yeah.
person, and it's just the perfect kind of ending to that show. I just thought it was great.
All I say is that I disagree. I think they should have cancelled it after he went.
Do
I
you?
just didn't think it was the same. Yeah.
Did you not? See, I found it. I still found it hilarious, and they continued the story with everybody else of Joe and Pam.
I like it as a show. I think they did it well to make it like however many season sitcom it was. I think they did it well. But how funny is that? You got the American, I got the English. All right, what else you got?
Big Bang Theory.
Okay.
Yeah,
Not
did
I've
you
not
watch
seen
that?
the finale of that. I've seen like 3/4 of that show. I
Yeah, most
never
people
made
have it. It went on for quite a long time. Again, it was really funny, and it kind of that they ended it really, really well. And then my last one is Friends.
Yeah, I've got friends.
Yeah, just
I've
because
got friends.
it just ended perfectly, didn't it? Like they couldn't have ended that show any better, I don't think.
Yeah, I think like you said, like Josh from Talking Smack said, like my wife said to me, that had the perfect. It shows everybody going off to new things, basically, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah,
And it's
yeah,
also
exactly.
got that final scene of them putting all the keys on the counter, which is quite an interesting one. But
Yeah, it's brilliant.
the only thing is, I always feel bad though on that because Monica and Chandler go off. You got Ross and Rachel, Phoebe married. Oh, was it
Mike.
Mike? Is it? And Joey's on his own.
He got a
So,
spin off, which absolutely
yeah,
bombed. Let's not talk about
Treasure Box.
that.
Yeah, but no, I agree. I think the finale in that is good. I just had three more for me. I've got Modern Family. I don't know if you've seen that.
Yeah, I have seen that. A fantastic show. Really missed a few things for me, which really pissed me off.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, like Hayley's character for me was the most annoying part of that entire show. Like she started off a really immature, teenager, and she really grew over the seasons, and she got with Andy, and that was her first real serious relationship, and that was a really healthy kind of relationship, healthy kind of image wise and stuff. They were really happy together. Now, the actor had prior engagements, which is why he had to leave the show.
Right.
So
Okay.
Sandy couldn't continue, which is fine. Maybe it didn't work out. They could have spun that any way they want, but to have her go back to the really reliant, whiny, kind of like can't do anything for herself. She went back to the start of her character in season 1, and for me, it was just completely. It was such a shame because I loved watching her character grow and change, and then to hit the reset button and leave her in that state right to the end.
I think though the finale. Have you seen the last episode?
Yeah,
though?
yeah.
I think the last episode though works as a good finale because Mitch and Cam I think go off to Cam's place, doesn't he?
Yes.
Haley then moves in with Dylan, I think, into their flat. The boys go off. I think one and Alex, I think she goes off abroad, doesn't she? Switzerland or something.
Yeah,
And it
like that,
again, the kids have all left. Well, apart from me, they've all left home, and it feels like they're growing up and they've done the classic life thing.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Again, I just think it does the perfect ending. It's an upbeat ending. It's about a character trying to make, he's leaving and he tries to make everyone happy rather than sad on his last day. But also, again, it shows progression in some of the characters. So again, it ticks all those boxes. My last one, I've left it till last intentionally. I'm sure you saw this. And it's another one that's divided audiences.
Oh, I think I know what you're going to say.
I've got Lost.
Yeah, Lost was on my list.
Well, good or bad?
I was kind of undecided with it, to be honest with you, because I absolutely adored Lost. I loved it, and they longed it out. They did long it out. I remember after season 2, there was an interview done with the guys that wrote the show, and they were like, "Yeah, well, the ending's already written. Like the ending was known, but they just carried it going." And for me, I still enjoyed the ride. I loved it. like the mysteries around like the island and the cages and the polar bears. Like, what the fuck is going on? It's brilliant. But then, because every fan was theorizing like the ending, like from season 2, they were like, "Oh, they're all dead. They all died in the plane crash, and this is just purgatory." And the writer's like, "No, no, 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 no. That's not what it is. That's not what it is." And then, yeah, the finale is, what is that?
But isn't it? Isn't so? Isn't it that everything that happened to the island was real? Everything that happened to them off the island was real. It was just I thought it was just in the last season, the flash sideways. Is it sideways or flash forwards? So the way I had it is everything that happened to them was real. When they then died, they were in this purgatory place, waiting for everyone that was on the island with them to be there. So it kind of was and it wasn't. So I think they got a bit of a bad rap at the time. I think it was always going to be a really tough show to end because of all the bizarre stuff that they brought into it. I mean, I loved the show, and it was weird. In my house, my wife loved the first half of it, especially the season. Like, she loved a bit in like in the jungle, the forest. That element of it.
Yeah,
Whereas I absolutely loved it when it went all crazy with the time traveling and
yeah,
the Faraday stuff. I loved that
yeah,
element of it. I think they did as good as they could with the ending, with that iconic finals, that scene of him lying down on the island, with
yeah,
the plane flying above. Um,
yeah,
yeah, it felt a bit, cop outy with them all.
yes,
It's like after the life I've had, I don't want to hang around waiting for Jack to die. Or sorry, it wasn't Jack because he died first, didn't he? I'm not. I don't want to sit there waiting for everyone else and for Jack to realise that he's in the afterlife. I've done my time. I've lived a crappy life, in all those accidents. Just send me up to where I'm going,
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I get why some people didn't like it. I've come to like it. I didn't at first, but it's one. The more I thought about it, I thought, do you know what? I think they've done as good as they can with it.
Yeah, I think I need to read some more explanations around the ending because I've read some people say that it's nothing on the island actually happened. It was purgatory, but
This is
because
where
they crashed
everyone's
together,
yeah.
they were all connected by that tragedy, which is why they all ended up back at the
This
church at
is
the
where
end.
everyone's probably screaming at me. But no, I in my head, it's the island was real, which is why at the end he gets them off the island, doesn't he? So people who died on the island died on the island. Those who got off, they got off.
Mm,
I think it was as they were dying, they were in this afterlife purgatory, waiting for all of them to get together
crossover, yeah,
and understand, because it was as a group that they had the most impactful moments in their life. So I think
yeah.
that's what it was.
I need to
But
rewatch it, to be honest. It's
send
been long
me
enough.
all the mail shouting at me if you think I'm wrong. So right, okay. What we'll do is I wanted to kind of extend this conversation, but yeah, it's been good fun. Just very quickly, Fuck My Work Life, they said their best TV finale was 6 Feet Under, but I'll be honest, I'll say that's a show I've not seen.
I've not seen it, no.
And Talking Smack, his worst one was, and I get this, and again, this is not, it's funny how finales really get the internet going. How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah, I gave up on that show, but I have heard about the ending, and it sounds absolutely abysmal. Yeah,
So just to give him the explanation, props to the creators for sticking to their original intention for having future Ted end up with Robin, but good God, did Robin just become the worst character? She had no redeeming qualities by the end of the show. She was just selfish and offered nothing in return to anyone in any kind of relationship with her.
bloody hell.
No holding back. What I would say is I'm just going to have a quick run through though of the biggest or the most viewed finales in history. So when you look at this, right, I think now the age of streaming, there's so many channels, we'll never beat these. But number one was in 1983. It was MASH. Did you ever see
Oh,
MASH? You know
okay.
what
I saw
MASH
a
is?
bit of Mash, yeah,
Yeah.
but before my
That
time. But
was
yeah,
105 million people for that
bloody
finale,
hell.
and I don't think that can ever be beaten. Not for a TV show.
No.
Cheers in 1993, that was 80.4 million. And the funny thing about Cheers is I had a note here somewhere. It gets referenced in a lot of programs. So the ending gets referenced in Brooklyn Nine-Nine. It's referenced in Always Sunny in Philadelphia. And did you watch Ted Lasso?
No, I haven't watched that yet. So I need to watch that.
Very good. That's just finished recently, and there's a cheeky little reference to the Cheers ending in that as well. So I'll leave that for you.
It's a reference in Friends
Not-
as well.
Is there?
Yep. Yeah, when they're in London and Joey's homesick.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, yeah. Oh, sorry, but I mean specifically the ending. There's an end
Oh,
specific thing
okay.
that happens in the end scene. Number 3 is from 1967. All right. Yeah, and it's The Fugitive at 78 million.
Okay.
Number 4 is 1998 Seinfeld at 76.3.
Yeah.
Friends, which is the most recent-ish one, 2004, that was 52.5 million.
That's a big drop, isn't it?
Yeah, Magnum PI, 1988, 50.7 million. Let's scoot down. What have we got? Number 11, 2004 is Frasier, 33.7. Dallas, 33.3. And that's it. Yeah, really, if you look at it, the most recent one was number 13, 2005, Everybody Loves Raymond,
Okay.
32.9 million. So I
Is that like specifically tuned in to the finale when it first airs?
think it would be, yeah.
Yeah. So like you said, with the streaming services, you never beat that again. No, you'll never get that.
You never can. And especially back in England, back in the day, 1983 as well, we probably, I think, only had 3 TV channels, because I
Yeah.
think Channel 4 only came in 1985. So back in the day, you had to watch that. And now with shows being dropped all at once and you can binge watch it anytime, there's no more weekly watching it and you don't build up to it. Do you know what I mean? There's no excitement. Because, like, for example, you and I, we were watching Game of Thrones. Can't remember, let's say it aired on a Monday. Tuesday, you and I would be talking about it.
Yeah.
But now the whole series drops. You've probably watched the finale already, and I've not even started episode 1. So,
Well, you say that, but some shows still do that, like House of the Dragon, Last of Us.
oh, what you mean weekly? Sorry, yeah,
Weekly,
yeah.
Yeah.
But then it's different, because being on a streaming service, back in the day, if you didn't put the VHS tape in the cassette recorder and push record, once it was gone, it was gone.
Yeah, and the thing is, right, some people will stay up at night and wait for 1 a.m. to watch it in the UK, whereas others will wait for the evening, and then others will wait for 5 weeks down the line when they can binge 5 episodes, and they've waited for that time. So it does vary when they get watched these days.
Okay, well, so we're going to have to end it there. I did have some other things about some of the finales that papers had called out, and also some bizarre endings, but maybe we come back to it another time. I don't think we've fallen out, which is quite good on this. So you could come back for another episode. I think it's quite good. We did have a mixture. We had a couple that were similar, but we had some different ones, which is the beauty of this, right? TV is everything is what's the word, personal to different people, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of division around the way TV episodes go, isn't there? So.
All right, so look, if you disagree with any of us, basically, if you've disagreed with Pete, give us a tweet at Casting Views on Twitter, or drop us a mail at castingviewspod@gmail.com. Pete at Pete on Twitter. Anything you want to shout out? You still into Apex?
Not so much. Fun enough, I've just finished Spider-Man Miles Morales on my PS5 tonight before I joined the pod. So. And I finished Death Stranding as well.
That's why I was waiting 20 minutes for you. Okay, all right. Well, look, so like I said, at Pete, if you want to see all things sort of Xbox, PlayStation, and whiskey, right?
Yeah, sounds about right.
He loves his whiskey. As for me, I'll see you next week. So yeah, if you've just come across this for the first time, push the subscribe button. And yeah, I know there's a lot of podcasts from which you can choose. So I thank you for listening to Casting Views.
1, 2, 3, 4. If I want your opinion, I will give it to you. Come on, take what we've got, 'cause you need it. Don't make us get a spark and proceed it. Come on,